I could barely breathe as I stared at the baby in my sister's arms. My husband stood beside her, looking down with a softness I hadn't seen in years. The baby's eyes, his eyes, stared back at me, and the realization hit like a freight train. My hands clenched into fists as the room seemed to spin. How could this be happening? How could they do this to me? The timeline was clear. Their betrayal must have started long before she even got pregnant. The confrontation was inevitable. I cornered my husband later that night, demanding the truth. He tried to deny it at first, but the guilt was written all over his face. My sister's involvement was undeniable. The baby was living proof. The next morning, I stormed over to her house, ready to tear her world apart. She didn't even try to hide it. Instead, she broke down crying, admitting everything. She claimed they were in love, that it just happened. My world was crumbling, and I was left trying to pick up the pieces. The days that followed were a blur of screaming matches and sleepless nights. My husband moved out, and I was left alone to process the betrayal. I couldn't escape the image of him with my sister, the baby that should have been a joy, now a constant reminder of their deceit. I wanted revenge, but more than that, I wanted to understand how they could do this to me. My sister, my own blood, had torn my life apart, and my husband had shattered every ounce of trust I had left. Then, the twist I never saw coming. In the depths of my despair, I found out I was pregnant. The shock was overwhelming, a cruel twist of fate. As I stared at the positive test, I realized I was now tied to him forever, whether I liked it or not. The internal conflict was consuming. I had to decide whether to raise this child alone or let him back into my life for the sake of our unborn baby. The betrayal cut deep, but the future now held another innocent life, complicating everything in ways I never imagined.